Hello, everyone. I'm here with the president of Bethel University, Ross Allen, and we're celebrating 150 years together, and you look good for 150 years.
Thanks, Scott. You too.
Right now.
You too.
Thank you so much. You know, I don't know if you guys know this, but Ross became president during COVID, and what a transition. We're so grateful for Jay and Barb Barnes and what they set up, but you're standing on their shoulders, but we're so grateful for you and the challenges of coming in during COVID, and what was that like for you?
Yeah, it was all consuming, but it actually fit with my background. I come from a medical background, not in a business world, not like many of you, and so I had dealt with life and death situations and product recalls where you have to make choices between the two. And so my approach to this was it's not just one thing. It's a multiple set of things, and mental health is part of that. And so we were busy. We're realizing that this is really the first year of normal, but we were busy, and God blessed us during that season.
Now, you were familiar with Converge. Tell us your connection with Converge.
So I was raised in a little 50-person BGC then church, and I came to Christ there. And then my pastor at my home church encouraged me to come to Bethel. So that connection has come from my childhood. And then I went to Bethel, and really, as many college students do, my faith became my own. I thought I knew who God was, and obviously I have continued to open my eyes to who He is, including tonight as we worship Him. But
I don't know if you realize this, but Ross is the first president of Bethel that actually graduated from Bethel. And isn't that great? And so not only does he, it not only is it a position, but you experienced the culture, you experienced it. Carl Lundquist, I know, is an influence on you, and you're a student of history, you're a student of both Converge and Bethel. Talk about Carl and what kind of impact he's had on your thinking.
Yeah, and if you don't know Carl, it's worth the read. And if you don't have access to the book, because I think it went out of print, but we have a book about his story and his experience. And Carl had this beating heart and this desire to chase after God. He and Tozier were good friends, evidently. I didn't know that until recently. But the two of them, it's a similar passion to chase after Christ. And I saw that. As a student, you really don't see the president that much generally, although Andy and I kind of make an exception to that. But we saw him enough to realize this man had a passion for God and for Jesus Christ. And so he had an impact on me. Converge and Bethel, yeah, there's a long history. So 20 years after Converge started, John Alexis Edgren realized some of the preaching that was being done needed a little bit of education. And so he, together with another student, started this university 150 years ago. And now we have trained over 51,000 people to go out into the world to be part of Converge churches and other churches as well.
I'm glad we figured out that preaching thing, because we don't have that problem today. No, we do. We need your help with that. You know, you are more in touch with the next generation than most people. You and Annie are doing a great job, not just leading, but connecting, having a relationship with. Tell us something we need to know about the next generation and what your experience is over the last couple of years with this younger generation that is trying to pursue Christ.
Yeah. So it is. We knew it would be an interesting challenge. This is, again, not a path we expected, but Annie and I have fallen in love with this generation, and we love hanging out with them. They inspire me. They humble me. For those of us that are boomers, they put us to shame. And we all see the Barna data and the statistics. But as I see these students, and I know many of them come from your churches and your peers' churches, they are on fire for Jesus Christ. They are on fire to do something meaningful. And so as I sit and listen this week and think, how can we help this generation be connected, to get out in the mission field, to have this passion to be church leaders? They have a passion to make a difference in the world. And I continue to say, we see all the statistics, but as I see this generation, God's going to be okay. The church is going to be okay with this generation. They have a passion to serve Him and to make a difference for the world that again, humbles me and inspires me. And I love seeing God working in their lives and the stories that I hear every single day about them.
You know, this relationship between Converge and Bethel is, like I said, a 150-year relationship, but it's more than that. I don't know if you know this, but the majority of the board of trustees at Bethel have to be Converge church members in good standing. And the seminary professors that are full-time need to be Converge members. And there's just all sorts of connections. Ross serves on the Converge board, and I serve on the Bethel board. In fact, in the search for Ross as president, one of the things he had to endure was a theological conversation with Pastor Joel Johnson and myself, just to make sure. You probably, as a businessman, probably never had the theological training and things like that, but it's one of those things that we're trying to protect and make sure that we have the same affirmation of faith. And this group actually has the power to select the board members that are approved for the Bethel board. So there's a lot of connection, and so our faith in Converge, it's so important. It's foundational to everything we do. And I know that in this last season, there's always questions in the academic world, because the role of the academic world is to expose you to a number of things, but in the Christian world, to advocate only those things that are biblical. Expose versus advocate is one of those challenges that you have. But you've come back with this fresh vigor about centering on Jesus. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, my view is that's what we're about. That's why we exist. We exist to serve the church. We did that for the last 150 years, and we're going to continue to do that. But a fundamental part of that is a focus on Jesus Christ. And it's this pietistic element you described yesterday. And then the other part is this irenic spirit, which was kind of the second half of your talk. And I've come back to appreciate and really glean, what does that mean? But I've been talking about we're centered on Jesus Christ. Ron referenced that a little bit. And I've been saying that so much that one of our coaches, a great godly man that develops great men of character and great men of God, started paraphrasing me and saying, President Allen wants us to double down on Jesus Christ. Of course, then we talked about, wait a minute, this is a Baptist background. Do we use a gambling term?
Can Baptists double down? I'm not sure you can do that.
So, but my reaction to it recently as I was thinking through that is, we're not just going to double down. We are all in. If we're going to use a gambling term, we're all in. We are all in to make a difference for Jesus Christ. We're all in that these students are going to learn who Jesus Christ is, and they all have a passion to serve him and seek him. And we're all in to make sure that we're all seeking to honor him and live our lives for Christ. So, yeah, we are all in on this. And, absolutely, that's worth,
There's so much. Being the president of a Christian college in today's world is probably one of the hardest jobs that's out there. There's all sorts of challenges. Can you just talk about some of the things you have to deal with?
Yeah, and Annie will ask me that, or during the pandemic, people are asking me that, and certainly that's kind of the talk around there. And I would joke that no one in their right mind would accept this, but I had 20 years, my background was 20 years of 7 different organizations, and then 1 year to cap that off at another Christian university of crisis intervention, helping organizations figure out what's our mission and how do we get at that and how do we drive that. And one of the other search members said, Ross, why do you suppose God spent 20 years preparing you in experiences like that? And so as I look at this, my other reaction to Annie when she asks, isn't this stressful, et cetera, is this is God's ministry. I am in this chair, and I frankly am far from qualified. I don't have an advanced degree. I'm in a higher ed role, and I have an advanced degree. And as Annie points out, only when we say, God, I'm not qualified, then God can say, okay, I got something to work with. So I'm not, it's not me, it's God. And so it's a big deal. I trust God's guiding me and helping make decisions, and we certainly pray about that as a cabinet and seek his will and his leading. But is it hard? I heard these stories this week. Is it hard? Talked to our friend in the Middle East. It's important. It's critical for such a time as this. I take that seriously. So don't question. I take this seriously. This desire to say, what has God got for this next generation? But it's God's ministry. It's his yoke.
So you've been in recent years reacquainted with Converge. Ross and I are not just co-workers, we're friends. We enjoy each other. We actually enjoy the time together. We encourage each other in our faith, and I enjoy that. But as you look at Converge, what's your hope for us, for Bethel, for Converge? What's your hope for us?
Yeah, this is, how's that line go? It's not your grandparents' BGC. I mean, and not that was bad. That was a great thing. But for this generation, for today, it's exciting to see the things going on this week and to see the other evidence of what God is doing through this movement. God has got great things in store, right? And God is the creator. He is the source of all creativity and innovation, and I trust he'll give us that. But to see the men and women here serving and to see what he's doing around the world through the stories that he does through us, his broken people, is inspiring. So yeah, as I continue to think, how could we build together this church? How could we add and build onto that church? I'm curious to see what's God got. And I realize I don't have all the answers. We'll pray and seek his will for that. But I'm inspired. I'm hopeful. God is not done yet.
Can we thank Ross for his time tonight? Thank you.